While the slogan of New Hampshire may be live free or die, unfortunately nothing in life is free, and the cost to live in the Granite State surely isn't either. In fact, New Hampshire is one of the top 10 most expensive states to live in the country, and while the lack of income and sales tax definitely help with the cost of living, New Hampshire is by no means a cheap place to live. If you're seriously considering moving here, in this video we're going to break down the cost of living in New Hampshire into 3 categories: housing, utilities, and groceries, so that you can determine if living in New Hampshire is a possibility for you. And if you appreciate the work that we've put into making this, could you do me a huge favor and just hit the like button? I know it's small, but it really helps me, so thank you so much for doing that. The first thing I want you to know is that while New Hampshire ranks as the number 6 most expensive state to live in the country, the state also has the 11th highest median household income. Because of the wealth in the state, employees are compensated higher for performing the same jobs than in other parts of the country. So if you're watching this thinking there's no way to be able to afford living here, I would encourage you to research just how much you would be paid to do in the same profession you're doing now in New Hampshire. There is a possibility that simply by moving here, your income could increase, which would offset the higher cost of living in the state, therefore making your decision that much easier. While this number will vary greatly depending on your specific budget and situation, the average cost of living in New Hampshire, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, is $56,720 per year or $4,027 per month. Now let's break down those costs so that we can see how we would end up with those numbers. And by the way, let me introduce myself. My name's Cam Avery. I'm a local resident and real estate agent with the Avery Realty Group and Keller Williams Coastal Realty. This channel is all about relocating to New Hampshire, so if that's something you're interested in, definitely subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for doing so. First things first, let's talk about housing. New Hampshire has a reputation for having a higher housing cost compared to the national average. However, this is going to be the biggest variable when it comes to your overall cost of living. For example, the median home price in Portsmouth, New Hampshire is $675,000. The median home price in Manchester, New Hampshire is $390,000, and the median home price in Gorham, New Hampshire is $215,000. By far the biggest factor in determining your cost of living in New Hampshire is first determining where in the state you want to live. The closer you want to be to major tourist destinations in Boston, the more expensive housing is going to be. I would highly recommend visiting different parts of New Hampshire to determine exactly where you want to end up, and then confirm with your budget that the housing costs will be within reach. Also, make sure to download our free relocation guide. It's got some great in-depth information on specific towns, school districts, and crime rates. You can download it totally free just by clicking the link in the description. One final thing to note is that while New Hampshire doesn't have a state income tax, it does have some of the highest property taxes in the country. So make sure that you factor that in, because this can make a big difference when it comes to your monthly mortgage payment. Aside from housing, the next biggest expense you'll want to consider is your utilities. Electricity, water, heating, and cooling costs can vary depending on the season. In the summertime, your electricity bill will most likely be high from running your ACs, while in the wintertime, your heating bills will be the majority of your utility expenses. I'm going to give you some average numbers from the U.S. Energy Information Administration on what you can expect. For electricity, the average New Hampshire bill is $125 per month. For gas, the average monthly bill is $108 per month. For cable and internet, the average monthly bill is $140 per month. And for water, the average monthly bill is $28 per month. Overall, you're looking at around $400 per month for utilities, but please note these are average numbers and will vary greatly depending on the size of home and what kind of heat source you have. Another thing to consider that you may not be used to coming from another state is that much of New Hampshire has private septic systems. Now, these won't cost you any money to run, but if you do need to replace your septic system, this is one of the most costly repairs that you can make as a homeowner. I always advise my clients to have a septic inspection done prior to purchasing a home so that you can ensure that your system is working properly. If you'd like to get more specific information on utilities and what to expect, feel free to just give me a call directly. Finally, the third aspect to consider is the cost of groceries and everyday essentials. This is where the lack of sales tax really comes in handy. In fact, even though my family now lives in Maine, we still drive across the bridge, go to New Hampshire, and do all our grocery shopping to save money on the sales tax. The average cost for groceries in New Hampshire is $366 per person per month. For a family of 4, expect to spend between $200 and $400 per week, depending on where you shop and what kind of food you prefer. So to wrap things up, despite the higher cost of living, it's worth mentioning that New Hampshire offers a good quality of life and various amenities that might offset some of the expenses. The state has excellent education systems, beautiful natural landscapes, and a strong sense of community. So like anything else in life, you get what you pay for, and while the cost of living free or dying certainly isn't cheap. If you made it this far and are still serious about moving to New Hampshire, we made this video here going over Maine versus New Hampshire, so make sure to click here and watch that video right now.